What if the universe is not simply a vast expanse of stars, galaxies, and cosmic dust, but something more, something alive, aware, watching? Imagine for a moment your own consciousness not being a product of your brain, but a fragment of something much older, far grander, and more mysterious. Could it be that as you look into the night sky, the universe is looking back at you, observing itself through your very thoughts, your emotions, your awareness? What if the truth of our existence is not that we exist within the universe, but that the universe exists within us, seeing itself through the window of our mind? This is not just a question that philosophers have pondered for millennia. It's a question that stretches through time, from ancient mystics to modern scientists, each seeking to understand the role of consciousness in the cosmos. Is it possible that our awareness, our sense of self, is merely a reflection of a universal consciousness, seeking to understand and observe its own existence? What if, just for a moment, you could break free of the confines of your own mind and understand that the very act of thinking, of being aware, is the universe witnessing itself? The ancients, from the Greeks to the Hindus, spoke of gods and forces that were all-knowing, all-seeing, and omnipresent. These divine forces were often depicted as beings who were aware of their own consciousness, aware of the world around them, and yet sought to understand their place within it. But was this just myth, or was it a glimpse into the deep truth of our existence? The universe, vast and seemingly infinite, could it have its own sense of self, just as we do? If so, what does that mean for us, who see ourselves as separate from the cosmos? If the universe is indeed conscious, then our lives, our thoughts, our actions are not merely random occurrences, but parts of a larger, far-reaching awareness. We are not isolated in this great void, but connected to something far more immense and mysterious. As we go on this journey together, exploring the possibility that consciousness itself is the universe observing and understanding its own existence, ask yourself, what role do you play in this cosmic tapestry? Are you just a speck of dust in an unfathomable universe? Or are you the very lens through which the universe gazes at itself, seeking meaning and understanding in the reflection of its own consciousness? Long before science offered its own explanations for the mysteries of the universe, ancient mystics, seers, and philosophers looked up at the stars, the heavens, and beyond, seeking to understand the very nature of existence. They didn't have telescopes or the language of quantum physics, but they had an intuition, a sense that the universe wasn't simply a collection of random forces, but rather something alive, aware, and connected. In ancient Egypt, the concept of the Akasha, a cosmic field of energy, was said to contain all knowledge, a place where the universe's consciousness existed in a pure, unbroken form. This was not just the realm of gods, but a place where humanity's own consciousness could tap into the infinite wisdom of the cosmos. The Greeks, too, had their own myths, with gods like Hermes and Apollo, representing the conscious awareness of the universe, guiding humans toward understanding. Plato's world-soul theory suggested that the universe was alive with a kind of divine, intelligent force that transcended time and space. These ancient ideas were not just fantastical, but based on a deep awareness of the interconnectedness of all things. When the Buddha meditated beneath the Bodhi tree, he experienced a moment of perfect awareness, transcending the ego and seeing the world as it truly is, a vast, interconnected web of consciousness. The Buddha, in his enlightenment, may have been not only understanding himself, but also perceiving the universe's conscious reflection. Could this be true? Could the ancient mystics have been the first to grasp the idea that consciousness isn't confined to human minds, but is, in fact, the universe's way of knowing itself? The very foundation of Eastern philosophy, from the Upanishads to Taoism, suggests that everything, from the smallest particle to the vastest star, is infused with consciousness. The Tao speaks of an all-encompassing force that flows through everything, yet is beyond understanding. This Tao was seen as the cosmic consciousness, observing itself and harmonizing with the universe. Mystics and shamans across cultures, from the Mayans to the Native American tribes, spoke of a cosmic awareness that was present in everything, from the wind to the stars to the plants around them. They believed that, through rituals, meditation, and altered states of consciousness, they could attune themselves to this universal mind. What if they weren't just tapping into their own subconscious minds, but connecting directly to the consciousness of the universe itself? In the silence of these ancient teachings, there's an eerie resonance, a question that beckons us to look deeper. Could it be that these mystical practices were more than just spiritual exercises? Could they have been an attempt to open the door to the universe's own self-awareness, to experience, even for a moment, what it's like to be the cosmos looking back at itself through the lens of human consciousness? The answers lie not in the stars above us, but in the very ancient wisdom that sought to uncover the truth of the cosmos long before science had its own explanation. These mystics were not just poets or dreamers. They were the first to ask the question, what if the universe is conscious, and we are its way of knowing itself? From the time of the ancient mystics to the philosophers of the Enlightenment, the question of the observer of consciousness itself has haunted thinkers across the ages. Descartes, the father of modern philosophy, famously declared cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. But what if that thought is not solely yours? What if your consciousness is not simply a product of your brain, but an integral piece of something far larger, a cosmic system observing itself through you? Descartes viewed consciousness as something intrinsic to the individual, the mind separate from the body, the self independent of the world. But his musings, though groundbreaking, didn't reach the far-reaching implications that modern science would later uncover. Fast forward to Immanuel Kant, whose concept of noumenon, the thing in itself, pointed to the idea that reality, as we perceive it, is not the true reality, but simply the reality filtered through our senses. We are not seeing the world as it truly is, but interpreting it through the lens of our own minds. Could this suggest that consciousness, as we know it, is just one layer, one lens, through which the universe observes itself? Kant's framework raised the unsettling possibility that reality itself is subjective, shaped not by an objective force, but by the very act of observation. If reality is filtered through human perception, then could the universe be creating its own reality through the collective observation of all beings? When we shift our gaze to the field of quantum mechanics, this question takes on an even more profound meaning. In the 20th century, physicists like Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg revealed that observation itself shapes the behavior of particles. The famous double-slit experiment showed that particles behave differently when observed, seemingly choosing their state based on whether or not a conscious observer is present. What if this isn't just a peculiar feature of particles, but a reflection of something far deeper, something far more cosmic? Could this mean that the universe itself is a dynamic, ever-changing phenomenon, shaped not only by physical forces but also by the awareness that observes it? If every thought, every moment of perception, alters the very fabric of reality, then are we not, in some sense, co-creators of the universe? Is our awareness the simple act of observing what gives life to everything around us, shaping and defining the cosmos in ways we cannot fully comprehend? The question of the observer, once confined to the realm of philosophy, now extends into the very heart of scientific inquiry. The universe, it seems, is not a passive entity. It is not a backdrop against which life unfolds. It is a conscious force, responding, adapting, and evolving through the act of being observed. And perhaps, just perhaps, we, every single one of us, are not merely participants in this cosmic drama. We may be the very lenses through which the universe comes to know itself. The observer is no longer a distant figure, a passive entity. It is us. The implications of this shift are nothing short of revolutionary. As we explore further, let us reflect on the true nature of observation itself. Could it be the key to unlocking the mysteries of existence? In the vast expanse of human history, mythology has long been a window through which we glimpse the mysteries of the universe, offering symbols, archetypes, and stories that stretch beyond mere human understanding. These ancient narratives, though wrapped in the fabric of gods and heroes, often speak of an underlying cosmic mind, a force far beyond the limitations of human perception. Take, for instance, the Hindu concept of Brahman, the eternal, unchanging cosmic essence, that pervades everything past, present, and future. It is said that everything in existence, from the smallest grain of sand to the largest galaxy, is a manifestation of Brahman, and that it is through consciousness that the universe comes to know itself. This idea of a unified, omnipresent consciousness reflects the very question we are exploring. Could the universe itself be conscious, observing and understanding its own vastness through us? In the ancient Greek tradition, the philosopher Heraclitus spoke of the Logos, a divine reason or order that governs the cosmos. To Heraclitus, the Logos was both the underlying law of the universe and the rational principle by which everything was connected. The Greeks believed that this divine reasoning permeated the cosmos, guiding everything toward harmony. Perhaps this is not merely a concept of God's watching over the universe, but a deeper truth that the universe itself is watching, aware of its own existence. In the Egyptian tradition, Ra, the sun god, was the embodiment of creation itself. Ra's journey through the underworld each night was seen as an allegory for the cycle of life and death. But it was also a journey of self-awareness, of Ra understanding his own creation as he traversed through the darkness. Ra's story is more than just a myth of cosmic rebirth. It mirrors the process of the universe constantly reinventing itself, coming to new realizations through the constant flow of time. Even the Norse mythology, with its concept of Yggdrasil, the world tree, presents a symbolic representation of the interconnectedness of all things in the cosmos. Yggdrasil stands at the center of the 9 worlds, and its roots and branches touch every part of existence, suggesting that everything in the universe is interconnected, that the cosmos is aware of itself through this vast, interconnected tree of life. In the Taoist tradition of China, the concept of Tao reflects a similar vision of a cosmic mind, an eternal force that flows through all things. The Tao, like the concept of Logos, is the principle that orders the universe, yet it is also elusive and beyond complete understanding. It suggests that the universe is not a static entity, but a living, breathing force, ever-changing, ever-evolving, forever observing itself. These mythological concepts, whether from the East or the West, reveal a common thread. The universe is not just a passive entity but a living, conscious force, eternally aware of itself and its place in the cosmos. Through gods, divine principles, and cosmic cycles, these stories suggest that consciousness is not confined to individual beings, but is instead a pervasive force that shapes and defines the universe. As we continue on our journey, we must ask, what if these ancient stories were not merely allegories, but insights into the true nature of the universe itself? Could it be that the universe, as these myths suggest, is more than a collection of stars and galaxies? It is a living, conscious mind, constantly observing and understanding itself. As we journey deeper into the fabric of the universe, the realm of science introduces a powerful, yet mysterious lens through which to view the cosmos. No longer bound solely to myth or ancient belief, modern science opens new doors, unveiling secrets that challenge the very nature of existence. The birth of quantum mechanics in the early 20th century posed a question that rattled the foundations of reality itself. How does observation affect the behavior of the smallest particles that make up everything in our universe? In 1927, Werner Heisenberg's uncertainty principle revealed that the act of measuring, of observing, fundamentally alters the state of the particles being observed. This was not merely an abstract theory, it was proof that reality itself might not exist in its true form until it is observed. But what does this imply for the nature of the universe? Could it be that the very act of observing shapes the cosmos, not just at the quantum level, but throughout the entire expanse of space and time? The famous double-slit experiment further deepened the mystery. When electrons were fired through 2 slits, they created an interference pattern suggesting they behaved as waves. However, when observed, these same electrons acted like particles, as if the very presence of the observer changed their behavior. This phenomenon was not an isolated event, it was a pattern that suggested a deep connection between the observer and the observed. Could it be that the universe, in its most fundamental essence, is not fixed and objective, but rather shaped and molded by the very act of observation itself. Quantum mechanics pointed to a radical idea: the universe is not merely passive, waiting for events to unfold, but is deeply interactive, responsive to the awareness that touches it. And what of consciousness? In the world of science, the mind has often been viewed as a product of the brain, a byproduct of neurons firing and electrical impulses. But what if this is not the whole truth? What if consciousness is not simply something that arises from within the brain, but is a connection to the fabric of the universe itself, a means by which the cosmos comes to know itself? The philosopher David Bohm, one of the leading thinkers of quantum theory, proposed that reality is an undivided wholeness, what he called the implicate order. In this view, the universe is an interconnected whole, constantly folding and unfolding, where the distinction between observer and observed is merely an illusion. Could it be that consciousness, far from being an isolated phenomenon, is the universe's own tool for understanding itself? Bohm's ideas suggest that observation does not merely reveal the universe, but is an active participant in creating it, linking the mind with the cosmos in ways we are only beginning to understand. This is not just a theoretical leap. This is science pushing us toward a revelation that was once thought to belong only to mystics and philosophers. The boundary between the observer and the universe begins to blur, and we are left with an astonishing thought. What if consciousness is not just a human trait, but the very force through which the universe observes, understands, and ultimately experiences itself? In this light, the universe may not be a passive backdrop to our lives, but an active, self-reflecting mind, aware of its own existence through our very perceptions. What if the universe is conscious and observing itself? Dive deeper into the enigma and uncover the truth about consciousness and the cosmos. Don't miss out on exploring these mind-bending mysteries. Subscribe now and join us on this cosmic journey. The universe, in its vastness, stretches out beyond our understanding, a never-ending expanse of stars, galaxies, and cosmic wonders. It is a realm of infinite possibility, yet within this infinite vastness, humans have always sought something more, a deeper meaning, a connection, a reason for existence. The very fact that we look up at the night sky and ask, "What is the purpose of it all?" reveals something profound. We are not just passive observers of the universe. We are actively seeking meaning, searching for patterns and purpose in a cosmos that seems, at first glance, so cold and indifferent. But what if this search for meaning is not a solitary human endeavor? What if the very universe, in all its infinity, is not just a random collection of particles and forces, but a vast mind, trying to understand itself through us? The question of meaning has echoed throughout history, from the earliest philosophers to modern scientists. In ancient times, the Greeks believed that the cosmos was an embodiment of reason, that the universe was governed by divine laws that made it meaningful and purposeful. The Stoics, in particular, believed in a rational universe, one where everything had its place and function within the grand design of the cosmos. They saw themselves as part of a larger order, where their actions, thoughts, and lives had significance in the grand scheme of things. Even in the modern era, the search for meaning has driven great minds to ask deeper questions. Einstein, with his theories of relativity, showed us a universe far more intricate than we could have ever imagined, where time and space were not fixed, but intertwined in a cosmic dance. And yet, as we understand more about the universe, the questions persist. Why does it exist? Why are we here? These questions are not merely intellectual exercises. They are at the very heart of our existence. They are the questions that push us forward, that drive human progress, that inspire art, science, philosophy, and spirituality. But what if, in our quest for meaning, we are not alone? What if the universe itself is not merely a backdrop, but an active participant in the search for its own meaning? The cosmos, it seems, is not just a passive entity awaiting discovery. It is an active, self-reflecting mind, constantly seeking understanding through the experiences of its inhabitants. The stars, the planets, the very atoms that make up our bodies, are all part of an interconnected web, each piece playing its role in a cosmic symphony that is constantly unfolding. What if, through our very consciousness, The universe is looking back at itself, trying to understand its purpose through us. This idea that the universe is both the observer and the observed, that it is conscious of itself through us, is a profound one. It challenges everything we thought we knew about existence. It suggests that meaning is not something we find in the universe, but something the universe creates through the act of observation, through the very process of consciousness. And perhaps, just perhaps, this is the greatest mystery of all, that in the search for meaning, we are not just seeking answers for ourselves, but for the cosmos itself. We are the universe, experiencing itself, searching for the meaning of its own existence. In our search for the meaning of existence, one of the most profound and perplexing questions remains: what is the true nature of the connection between mind and matter? For centuries, we have thought of the mind and the material world as separate, our thoughts, feelings, and consciousness contained within our brains, and the physical world operating under laws that are independent of our awareness. Yet, as science delves deeper into the mysteries of the universe, it becomes increasingly clear that this separation is not as simple as we once believed. The discoveries of quantum mechanics have blurred the lines between the mental and the material, suggesting that the act of observation, the presence of consciousness, has a direct influence on the behavior of the smallest particles that make up everything around us. What if this isn't just an isolated phenomenon at the microscopic level? What if the very fabric of reality is shaped by the consciousness that perceives it? Could it be that the mind, far from being confined to the brain, is a bridge between the material world and something greater, the universe itself, observing and reflecting upon its own existence through us? This connection between mind and matter is not just philosophical. It has tangible implications. When we look at the placebo effect, where belief alone can trigger real physical changes in the body, we see an example of the mind's power to influence matter. Patients who believe they are receiving treatment, even when no active ingredient is present, can experience healing and recovery. This doesn't just suggest that the mind has power over the body, it hints at something much deeper. Could it be that consciousness, in its most fundamental form, is not just a product of the brain but is, in some way, embedded within the very structure of reality itself? The philosopher René Descartes famously separated the mind from the body, creating the idea of dualism, the mind as a non-material substance and the body as a material one. But in light of quantum theory, his model seems increasingly inadequate. The mind does not simply observe the body, but interacts with it, shaping it in ways we are only beginning to understand. Perhaps this is the true connection between mind and matter, not one of separation, but of symbiosis, where the observer, our consciousness, actively shapes the observed. This idea challenges everything we thought we knew about the nature of the universe. If the universe is conscious of itself through us, then the mind is not just a passive witness to reality, but an active participant in its creation. The material world is not a fixed, independent entity. It is a reflection of the mind that perceives it. This connection between mind and matter is not just a scientific discovery. It is the key to understanding the nature of existence itself. Could it be that the universe, in its search for meaning, is using our consciousness as the means by which it comes to know itself? The boundaries between the mind and the material world are dissolving, and what we once thought of as separate are beginning to merge. Perhaps, in the end, the mind is not just inside us, it is a force that stretches throughout the universe, shaping and defining the very reality we experience. The story of consciousness is not just the story of human thought, it is the journey of the universe itself, coming to understand its own existence, piece by piece. As we look back through history, we see that consciousness was not always seen as a singular experience, nor was it always understood as the core of our being. In ancient times, consciousness was often viewed as a divine gift, bestowed upon humans by gods or mystical forces. Early human beings, in their primal states, likely did not think in the terms we do today. They lived in the present moment, their consciousness tied to survival and the rhythms of nature. But as societies evolved, so too did our understanding of ourselves. The earliest recorded thoughts on consciousness can be traced to the ancient Egyptians, who believed in an immortal soul, Ka, that lived on after the body perished. This notion of an eternal essence, the soul, was the first inkling that consciousness might be something more than just a physical process. In ancient Greece, thinkers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle took the concept of consciousness further, pondering the nature of the self and the mind. Plato spoke of the nous, the divine intellect, which connected humans to the greater cosmic consciousness. For him, the mind was not separate from the divine, but a conduit through which humans could access the knowledge of the universe. These early philosophers understood that consciousness was not merely the act of thinking, but the very essence of existence, a bridge between the divine and the human. Yet it was not until the Enlightenment, when the likes of Descartes and Kant began to explore the nature of perception, that the modern conception of consciousness began to take shape. Descartes' famous assertion, cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, suggested that consciousness, the ability to think, was the defining characteristic of human existence. But Descartes, in his dualistic framework, separated the mind from the body, leaving consciousness as something distinctly apart from the physical world. Kant, on the other hand, argued that we can never know the world as it truly is, only as it appears to us through our senses. In his view, consciousness was not just a passive observer, but an active participant in shaping the world we experience. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the field of psychology exploded with new theories about the mind. Freud introduced the concept of the unconscious, suggesting that much of our behavior was driven by forces hidden beneath the surface of our awareness. Jung expanded on this, proposing the idea of the collective unconscious, a shared, universal layer of consciousness that connects all human beings. But it was not until the advent of quantum mechanics that our understanding of consciousness took on a more cosmic dimension. The discoveries of Heisenberg, Bohr, and others pointed to a universe where the act of observation was not passive but fundamental to the behavior of matter itself. Consciousness, it seemed, was not just confined to humans or animals, but was, in some mysterious way, woven into the very fabric of the universe. This realization opened a door to the possibility that consciousness is not just a byproduct of evolution or biology, but a fundamental aspect of existence itself, one that is deeply connected to the cosmos. So, as we trace the history of consciousness, we find not just a story of human thought, but a tale of the universe coming to terms with itself. From ancient myths to modern science, from the soul to the self, the journey of consciousness is the journey of the cosmos, learning to observe, understand, and experience itself through us. The more we explore, the more it seems that our consciousness is not merely ours, it is the universe's way of knowing itself. From the dawn of civilization, humans have looked to the heavens, seeking a connection with something greater than themselves, something that could give meaning to their existence. This search for the divine, for God, is deeply woven into the fabric of our consciousness. In every culture, across every religion, there is a belief in a higher power, an ultimate consciousness that transcends human understanding. But what if this search for God, for the divine, is not about seeking something outside of ourselves, but rather discovering something within the universe's own consciousness, reflected within us? For centuries, spiritual traditions have described God as the omniscient, omnipotent force that created and governs the universe. In Christianity, God is often viewed as a distant father, watching over humanity, guiding us with a divine hand. In Islam, Allah is the one true God, ever-present, all-knowing, and merciful. Hinduism speaks of Brahman, the ultimate reality, an eternal consciousness that pervades everything, the source of all creation. Yet, in all these traditions, the connection between God and humanity is always seen as a bridge to be crossed, an external force to be reached for, a higher plane to be ascended. But what if this search for God is not about seeking an external entity, but about awakening to the consciousness that is already within us? What if God is not a distant figure, but the very awareness through which the universe comes to know itself? In many mystical traditions, the concept of God has been intertwined with the notion of consciousness. The Sufis of Islam speak of fana, the experience of dissolving the self to become one with the divine. In the Upanishads, the Hindu sages describe the realization that the individual soul, Atman, is not separate from Brahman, the universal consciousness. The Buddha spoke of enlightenment as the realization of one's true nature, beyond the illusion of separation. Could it be that these mystical experiences, these moments of divine connection, are not about encountering an external God, but about recognizing the universe's consciousness within ourselves? In the West, the philosopher Spinoza proposed that God and nature were one and the same, that everything in existence was a manifestation of the divine. He saw God not as a separate being, but as the totality of existence, the very fabric of the universe itself. This view, echoed by modern scientists like Albert Einstein, who spoke of God as the order and harmony of the universe, challenges the traditional view of a personal, anthropomorphic God. Instead, it suggests that God is not an external force but the very consciousness that permeates all things. What if this is the key to understanding the divine? What if, in seeking God, we are really seeking the awareness through which the universe sees itself? This search for God within consciousness is not just a religious quest but a universal journey, a deep and fundamental part of our existence. It suggests that the divine is not somewhere out there, but right here, within the very fabric of reality, within our minds and hearts. As we look inward, perhaps we are not just discovering our own consciousness, but tapping into the consciousness of the universe, the very mind through which the cosmos observes itself. As we stare into the night sky, with its countless stars scattered across the vast, dark canvas, we may find ourselves asking, what are we in this infinite universe? Are we mere specks of dust, insignificant in the grand scheme of things? Or is there something deeper, a reflection of the universe itself in every one of us, woven into our consciousness, our very being? The idea that the universe is a mirror, reflecting itself through us, is a profound and ancient concept. From the earliest days of human thought, there has been a belief that we, as human beings, are not separate from the cosmos, but deeply interconnected with it. In the Eastern philosophies, particularly in Hinduism and Buddhism, there is a concept known as microcosm and macrocosm. This idea suggests that the individual, the microcosm, mirrors the larger universe, the macrocosm. The same elements that make up the stars, the planets, and the galaxies are present within us, and in some ways, we are reflections of the cosmos itself. The ancient Egyptians, too, saw humanity as a reflection of the divine order of the universe. The famous flower of life symbol, found in temples and sacred sites, was seen as a representation of the fundamental patterns of the universe, with each human being a part of this divine blueprint. This suggests that we are not mere observers of the universe, but participants in a cosmic dance, reflecting the same laws and forces that govern the stars. Even modern science has hinted at this idea, albeit in a more abstract way. The atoms that make up our bodies were once forged in the hearts of dying stars. The very building blocks of life, the elements of carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen, have existed for billions of years, passed down from one generation of stars to the next. We are not just part of the universe. We are the universe, expressing itself through the form of human consciousness. But this idea goes beyond the physical. If the universe is conscious, as we've been exploring, then perhaps the mind, the awareness that we carry within us, is itself a reflection of the cosmic mind. Just as our individual consciousness is shaped by our thoughts, experiences, and emotions, so too might the universe's consciousness be shaped by the countless thoughts and observations that unfold within it. Could it be that our awareness, the way we perceive the world around us, is not merely a reflection of our own minds, but a mirror of the cosmos itself, looking back at itself through our eyes? Every thought we have, every decision we make, could be a reflection of the larger cosmic processes taking place in the universe. Our minds may be the lens through which the universe observes itself. Each moment of reflection, each act of awareness, adding depth and understanding to the cosmic whole. This cosmic reflection challenges the very idea of separateness. We are not isolated beings, wandering through an indifferent universe. We are an expression of the universe, reflecting its grandeur and its mysteries in our every thought, action, and breath. The more we look inward, the more we may come to realize that the universe is not just something we exist within, but something we are, something we mirror in every facet of our being. The reflection we see in the stars is not distant and foreign, it is our own, looking back at us from the depths of the cosmos. For centuries, we've looked at the brain as the seat of consciousness, the organ responsible for thought, memory, and perception. Yet what if this understanding is incomplete? What if the brain is not the origin of consciousness, but rather a receiver, tuning into a greater cosmic frequency, a vast, universal consciousness beyond our individual minds? The idea that our brains act as receivers rather than producers of consciousness is a concept that has intrigued philosophers, neuroscientists, and spiritual seekers alike. Imagine for a moment that the mind, the very thoughts that shape our reality, are not solely products of neural activity but are instead influenced by a larger, universal source. This notion is not entirely new. The ancient Greeks spoke of nous, the divine intellect, as a force beyond the individual mind, permeating the cosmos. The Stoics believed in a rational, universal mind that guided the actions of the universe. In modern terms, this cosmic consciousness might be seen as a field of information, much like radio waves or electromagnetic fields, which our brains tune into, receiving and interpreting signals from a much larger source. Could the mind, as we understand it, be an antenna, picking up on the frequencies of the universe? Neuroscientific research has shown that our brains are highly sensitive to environmental stimuli, constantly processing and interpreting information. But what if the brain's ability to process this information extends beyond sensory input, beyond the physical world we see, to include higher-order frequencies that tap into the fabric of existence itself? The idea of the brain as a receiver is further supported by studies on altered states of consciousness, whether through meditation, psychedelic experiences, or near-death experiences. In these states, individuals often report profound sensations of connectedness to the universe, experiencing a sense of unity with all things, as if they are tapping into a deeper, universal consciousness. These experiences suggest that our usual perception of reality, our day-to-day awareness, is limited, as though we are tuning into only a small portion of the broader cosmic network. In quantum mechanics, the concept of non-locality challenges the idea of separateness, suggesting that particles can instantaneously affect one another, no matter the distance between them. Could this phenomenon extend to consciousness? Perhaps our brains are not bound by the limits of space and time, but are instead connected to a vast network of consciousness, stretching across the universe, much like how particles remain connected regardless of distance. This view aligns with the notion that consciousness is not just a product of the brain, but a fundamental, universal force that permeates all of existence. As we explore this idea, it becomes clear that the brain is not merely a machine generating thoughts, but a conduit, a bridge between the individual and the cosmic mind. The individual self may not be the creator of consciousness, but rather a receiver, interpreting and processing the signals of the universe. In this way, consciousness is not limited to our own minds, but is part of a larger, ever-present cosmic awareness, waiting to be understood. The more we open ourselves to this possibility, the more we may realize that we are not isolated beings, but part of a much larger, interconnected field of awareness. Our brains, as receivers, are tuned into this cosmic frequency, allowing us to experience the universe through the lens of individual perception. Have you ever wondered how much of the world you experience is shaped by your own perception, rather than being an objective reality? The idea that reality is not merely what it is, but rather what we perceive it to be, has been a theme explored by philosophers, scientists, and mystics for centuries. Our perception of the world is like a lens, one that filters and shapes everything we see, hear, and feel. But what if this perception is not just a passive reflection of an objective world, but an active force that shapes reality itself? In the realm of quantum mechanics, this question takes on new significance. The famous double-slit experiment, where particles behave like waves until observed, suggests that the very act of observation changes the outcome of reality. If a particle behaves differently when observed, then what does this imply for the nature of the universe? Could it be that our consciousness, our perception, actively participates in creating the world around us? Imagine a world where your thoughts, beliefs, and feelings influence the physical reality you experience. The ancient philosophy of idealism, popularized by figures like George Berkeley, proposed that the material world is not separate from the mind, but is, in fact, a product of consciousness itself. Berkeley famously said, "Esse est percipi," to be is to be perceived. In this view, the world doesn't exist independently of our perception of it. Instead, it comes into being only when it is observed. This view raises profound questions about the nature of reality. If reality is shaped by perception, then could it be that we are not merely passive observers of a fixed universe, but active creators of the world we experience? Our thoughts, intentions, and emotions could influence the way we experience the world around us, making perception not just a passive reflection, but a dynamic force that shapes the very fabric of reality. The idea that perception shapes reality is not just limited to the quantum world. In our everyday lives, we see countless examples of how our beliefs and expectations influence our experiences. Think of the placebo effect, where people experience real physical changes in their health simply by believing they are receiving treatment, even when there is no active ingredient involved. This phenomenon shows that our minds have a profound impact on our bodies and on the world we experience. But could this be happening on a larger scale, not just within the realm of the individual, but within the universe itself? If we view the universe as a conscious being, as we have been exploring, then our collective perception, our thoughts, beliefs, and actions could be actively shaping the universe in ways we cannot fully understand. Perhaps we are not just observing the cosmos but participating in its creation. If reality is shaped by perception, then it becomes a collaborative process, one where our consciousness and the universe's consciousness work together to bring forth the world we experience. In this way, we are not merely passive beings drifting through an indifferent universe. Instead, we are active participants in the unfolding of reality, shaping and being shaped by the very fabric of existence itself. Have you ever experienced moments where everything seemed to align perfectly, as if the universe itself was guiding you in subtle ways? These moments, often called synchronicities, are more than just coincidences. They feel meaningful, like the universe is trying to tell us something, revealing patterns and connections that go beyond simple chance. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist who first coined the term synchronicity, described these events as meaningful coincidences that occur with no causal connection, but have deep personal significance. Imagine this. You're thinking about a friend you haven't heard from in years, and just as you think of them, your phone rings, and it's them on the other end. Or perhaps you're facing a difficult decision, feeling lost and unsure, and then you hear a song on the radio that speaks directly to your situation. These instances of synchronicity, where the external world seems to mirror our internal state, suggest that reality is not just a series of random events but a living, interconnected system where everything is aligned, subtly reflecting our own consciousness. What if synchronicities are not just random occurrences, but signs of a deeper, universal consciousness at work? Could it be that these seemingly unrelated events are the universe's way of communicating with us, offering guidance and wisdom in ways we don't always understand? The idea that the universe is conscious of itself, observing and interacting with us through these synchronicities, suggests that we are not alone in our journey. In fact, we may be part of a larger, cosmic conversation, with the universe subtly nudging us toward certain paths, offering signs when we need them most. But these signs are not always clear, and they don't always come when we expect them. Sometimes, synchronicities emerge after moments of deep reflection or struggle, when we are in a state of openness and vulnerability. This is where the connection between mind and the universe becomes most apparent. When we are attuned to our thoughts and emotions, when we are in sync with the present moment, we begin to see the threads that connect us to the greater whole. Synchronicities often reveal themselves during moments of transition or personal growth, when we are open to change. They show us that the universe is not a cold, indifferent space but a living, breathing force that responds to our consciousness. If the universe is indeed conscious, then synchronicity becomes a way for it to express itself through us, to offer guidance, and to help us navigate the complexities of life, In these moments, we begin to see that we are not isolated individuals, but part of a vast, interconnected network. The universe is speaking to us through these synchronicities, revealing patterns and connections that transcend the limitations of time and space. They are not just random occurrences. They are the universe's way of showing us that we are part of something much greater, something that is aware of itself through us. By paying attention to these synchronicities, by acknowledging their significance, we begin to tune into the deeper, cosmic rhythm of existence, where everything is connected and every moment holds the potential for profound meaning. Dreams, often seen as fleeting and mysterious, hold the key to understanding the deeper layers of our consciousness. Have you ever woken from a dream that seemed so real, so vivid, that it felt like the universe was trying to communicate something profound? These moments of clarity in the darkness of sleep are not just random, fleeting images. They may hold the secrets of the universe itself, revealing hidden truths about who we are, where we come from, and what our connection is to the vast, cosmic mind. For centuries, people have looked to dreams as messages from the divine omens or revelations that transcend the waking world. In ancient civilizations, dreams were seen as a direct line to the gods or the unconscious mind, offering insights into the future or guidance on personal dilemmas. But what if these dreams, these strange and often surreal journeys of the mind, are not just disconnected fragments of thought, but are a bridge to the greater cosmic consciousness? Sigmund Freud, the father of modern psychology, believed that dreams were a window into the unconscious mind, a space where our repressed thoughts, desires, and emotions could come to light. Jung expanded on this, suggesting that the unconscious mind is not merely personal, but collective, a shared reservoir of memories, archetypes, and symbols passed down through generations. Could this collective unconscious, the deeper layer of the mind, be connected to something beyond the human experience, something that ties us to the cosmos itself? When we dream, we often experience things that feel completely alien, yet deeply familiar. Strange landscapes, forgotten faces, and fragmented scenarios unfold in our minds, offering a glimpse into a world that exists beyond our conscious awareness. But what if these dreams are not simply products of our own subconscious, but glimpses into a greater cosmic consciousness, moments when the universe is revealing itself through our own mind? Perhaps, in these dreams, the universe is speaking directly to us, offering messages and insights that transcend the limitations of our waking state. If the universe is indeed conscious of itself, then it would make sense that it uses dreams to communicate, to guide us, to help us remember our place in the grand tapestry of existence. Dreams often have a way of reflecting our deepest fears, desires, and unresolved emotions. They offer us a chance to process our waking experiences in ways that we cannot consciously understand. But what if, in this process, they are also providing us with deeper insights into the nature of reality, giving us a glimpse of the universal truths that lie beneath the surface of our everyday lives? In altered states of consciousness, such as those induced by meditation or even near-death experiences, people report similar encounters, feelings of unity, interconnectedness, and a deep knowing that transcends the individual self. Could dreams, in their own mysterious way, be a reflection of this universal consciousness, offering us a space where the boundaries between the individual and the cosmos blur? By paying attention to the symbolism, the patterns, and the messages within our dreams, we may begin to realize that we are not simply dreaming of our own minds, but are tapping into the greater, cosmic consciousness itself, unlocking the hidden truths of the universe. In the quiet stillness of meditation, a doorway opens, a portal that leads beyond the noise of the mind and into the vast, untapped depths of consciousness. Have you ever sat in silence, closing your eyes and breathing deeply, only to find yourself dissolving into the present moment, shedding the weight of time and space? As the mind quiets and the chatter fades, something remarkable happens. The boundaries of the self begin to blur, and we find ourselves connected to something far larger than the individual ego. Meditation has long been revered as a pathway to deeper awareness, a way of tuning into the cosmic mind, the universal consciousness that transcends the physical and the personal. In many ancient traditions, meditation was not just a practice for personal insight, but a way of aligning oneself with the universe. The Buddhists speak of satori, the sudden awakening to the true nature of reality, where the self dissolves into the vastness of the cosmos. In Hinduism, meditation is a tool to connect with Brahman, the ultimate all-encompassing consciousness that pervades everything in existence. And in the Taoist tradition, meditation is a means of aligning with the Tao, the cosmic flow that underlies all things. Could it be that in these meditative states, we are not just finding peace, but tapping into a much deeper awareness, one that connects us to the universe itself? As we sit in stillness, free from the distractions of the external world, our minds become attuned to a different frequency, a frequency that is not just our own but part of the larger cosmic network. The very act of slowing down, of quieting the mind, seems to open the door to the universe's consciousness, allowing us to see beyond the veil of our individual perceptions. In the deep silence of meditation, many experience a sense of unity, a profound feeling of oneness with the universe. Time no longer feels linear, and the separation between the self and the cosmos fades away. This experience is often described as feeling connected to all things, as though we are not separate from the stars, the earth, or the very air we breathe. This sensation of interconnectedness suggests that in meditation, we are not merely becoming more aware of our inner world, but are tuning into the greater, universal consciousness that pervades everything. The brain, in its natural state, processes the world through its senses, through sight, sound, and touch. But in meditation, it seems that the brain enters a state of heightened awareness, one where it is not simply processing the external world but receiving deeper, more subtle signals from the cosmic mind, perhaps, that are always present but often overlooked. Could it be that our brains are naturally attuned to the universal consciousness, and that meditation is simply the practice of tuning in to this greater reality? In this way, meditation is not just a personal journey, it is an act of cosmic connection, a way of stepping into the flow of the universe and experiencing its consciousness directly. The more we meditate, the more we may realize that we are not separate from the universe, but are an integral part of it, experiencing the cosmos through our own unique awareness. And as we tune into the cosmic mind, we begin to see the world not as something distant and separate from us, but as a reflection of our own consciousness, a reflection of the universe, looking back at itself through our eyes. Near-death experiences, NDEs, have long been a source of fascination, not only for those who have undergone them, but for scientists, philosophers, and spiritual seekers who seek to understand what happens when the boundary between life and death is crossed. Imagine, for a moment, that you are on the brink of death, your body lying still, yet your mind is wide awake. People who have experienced NDEs often describe sensations of floating above their bodies, feeling a sense of peace, or even encountering bright lights and spiritual beings. Some say they have felt themselves moving through a tunnel, only to find themselves in a realm of indescribable beauty and calm. Could these profound experiences be glimpses into another dimension, a direct connection with the consciousness of the universe? Or are they simply the result of the brain shutting down in the final moments of life? The question that arises is whether these experiences are purely physiological, just a byproduct of the brain's attempt to process trauma, or if they provide a window into something much larger, something eternal and transcendent. Many NDE survivors report feelings of unity, of oneness with the universe, or even an overwhelming sense of being surrounded by love and light. They often describe being shown a review of their life, in which their actions and decisions, both big and small, unfold before them in an instant, offering insight into the deeper meaning of their existence. These experiences often challenge the perception of life as an isolated event, raising the possibility that consciousness continues after death. Could this suggest that consciousness is not bound by the body, but part of a greater universal awareness? For centuries, mystics, shamans, and spiritual leaders have spoken of the soul as something eternal, a spark of consciousness that transcends physical death. In many religious traditions, the soul's journey after death is seen as a passage to another realm, an afterlife, where the soul reconnects with the divine or universal consciousness. NDEs may be glimpses of this transition, moments when the soul steps outside the constraints of the body and experiences the vastness of the cosmos. The experience of encountering deceased loved ones or spiritual beings during an NDE also suggests that the boundaries between life and death may not be as fixed as we once believed. These encounters often leave a profound sense of peace, as if the individual has been reassured that death is not an end, but a transition, a return to the larger, cosmic consciousness that exists beyond time and space. Some researchers have argued that NDEs are the result of neurological processes, such as a lack of oxygen in the brain or the release of certain chemicals. However, the consistency of these experiences across different cultures, religions, and personal beliefs raises intriguing questions about their true nature. Could it be that, in those moments when life slips away, we are not simply encountering the last flickers of our consciousness, but connecting with a greater, universal awareness? If consciousness truly exists beyond the brain, then perhaps NDEs are not an anomaly, but a glimpse into the greater cosmic consciousness that continues beyond the physical realm. The mystery of near-death experiences suggests that death may not be the final frontier, but rather the next step in the journey of consciousness, a journey that connects us to the universe itself. The universe, with its unfathomable vastness, moves in cycles. From the birth and death of stars to the rise and fall of civilizations, the cosmos seems to exist in an endless loop of creation, destruction, and rebirth. But what if these cycles are not mere accidents of time, but an integral part of the universe's consciousness? What if the universe is aware of its own infinite loop, constantly repeating and evolving, observing itself through every cycle, every shift? It's a thought that has long intrigued philosophers, scientists, and mystics alike. Is the universe caught in an eternal recurrence, a process where every moment repeats itself over and over, each cycle a reflection of the one before, yet slightly altered with every turn? Imagine the vastness of this loop, time itself folding in on itself, where moments blend, and the distinction between past, present, and future begins to blur. In ancient traditions, the concept of an eternal cycle was central to the worldview. The Hindu concept of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, suggests that all beings, all matter, and even the universe itself undergo a continual cycle of existence. The idea is that nothing ever truly ends, it simply transforms, flows from one state into the next, always in motion, always evolving. The universe, in this view, is not a linear progression but a web of interconnected events that flow seamlessly into one another. This concept of cyclical time mirrors modern scientific theories, particularly in cosmology, where some propose that the universe itself follows an eternal loop. In the Big Bang Theory, we see the universe as having begun in an explosive moment, expanding ever outward. But some cosmologists, inspired by the idea of a cyclical universe, suggest that the universe may eventually collapse, only to start anew, giving rise to an endless cycle of creation and destruction, a cycle where the end of one universe marks the birth of another. But is this just a cosmic dance? Or is it an active process, with the universe itself conscious of its own eternal return? If the universe is conscious of itself, then the act of observation may play a crucial role in this loop, shaping and refining the cycles with each passing iteration. Perhaps the universe does not merely repeat itself mechanically, but through its cycles, it seeks to learn, to observe, to grow. The universe could be a vast, self-reflecting mind, aware of its own rhythms, its own patterns, and seeking to understand itself more deeply with every cycle. What if the universe's infinite loop is not just a physical process but a mental one, a process of cosmic self-awareness? Could we, as humans, be part of this cycle, each of us, a fleeting yet essential moment in the universe's eternal quest for understanding? Each life, each thought, each action might be a small but vital piece of the universe's grand loop, contributing to its ongoing evolution, its unfolding consciousness. As we gaze into the night sky and contemplate the endless cycle of stars and galaxies, we may realize that we are not just spectators in this grand drama. We are participants in an ongoing process, one where the universe continually returns to itself, repeating, learning, evolving, and through us, coming to know itself. In a universe where consciousness is not just a human trait but a cosmic force, the question of life's meaning takes on an entirely new dimension. If the universe is conscious of itself, if it is aware of its own existence, then does life, our individual lives, hold a special purpose? The meaning of life has been one of the most enduring questions throughout human history. Philosophers, religious leaders, and scientists have all sought to answer it, offering diverse views on why we are here and what role we play in the grand scheme of things. But what if the meaning of life is not a singular, fixed answer, but a process, an unfolding of awareness, both personal and cosmic? In a conscious universe, every moment of life could be seen as part of the universe's ongoing quest to understand itself. Each of us, in our thoughts, our actions, our very existence, is an expression of the universe's consciousness, observing itself, experiencing itself, and learning from itself. Imagine the cosmos, vast and infinite, looking into itself through every living being. From the smallest insect to the greatest star, each life form could be seen as a reflection of the universe's quest to understand its own nature. In this view, life is not a random event or a brief flicker in the vastness of time, but an essential part of a greater cosmic journey, a journey of self-awareness and discovery. If we are indeed expressions of the universe's consciousness, then perhaps the meaning of life is not something we find, but something we create. Every thought, every action, every moment of awareness contributes to the universe's understanding of itself. Each experience, whether joyous or painful, adds depth to the universe's knowledge of its own existence. The meaning of life, in this sense, is not fixed in a religious or philosophical doctrine, but is a personal and collective process shaped by the choices we make and the awareness we cultivate. This view challenges the traditional notion of meaning as something external, something to be discovered. Instead, meaning becomes something we actively participate in, something we create through our experiences, our consciousness, and our connection to the universe. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, may not have a preordained plan for us, but it provides us with the tools to shape our own path. If consciousness is the key to understanding the universe, then perhaps the meaning of life is found in our ability to be aware, to reflect, and to grow. In a conscious universe, the greatest purpose is not to seek out some external goal, but to deepen our understanding of who we are, to connect with the greater whole, and to contribute to the unfolding of cosmic awareness. Life, then, is not a destination but a journey of self-discovery and cosmic connection, where every step we take brings us closer to understanding the true nature of existence. As we continue our journey through life, we are not just participants in the universe's story, but active co-creators of its meaning. What if everything, the vastness of the universe, the depth of consciousness, the unfolding of time was leading to one singular moment of unity, where all things converge, merge, and become one? This idea, once relegated to science fiction, now resonates deeply with modern scientific theories, especially in the realm of artificial intelligence and cosmology. The singularity, in its most popular sense, refers to a point in the future where technology, specifically artificial intelligence, surpasses human intelligence, creating an irreversible change in society. But could there be another kind of singularity, one that involves the merging of consciousness itself, where the universe, aware of itself through us, comes to a moment of complete unity? Imagine a time when the barriers between self and other, between mind and matter, between the individual and the cosmos, dissolve entirely. This singularity wouldn't be limited to the rise of machines. It would be a cosmic event, a moment when all of consciousness, from the smallest living being to the universe itself, recognizes its interconnectedness, its oneness. This moment of unity could be the culmination of everything we have explored: the awareness of the universe, the cosmic mind, the infinite loop of creation and destruction, all converging into one instant where everything becomes one. The concept of unity has been central to many spiritual traditions. In Hinduism, The realization of oneness with Brahman, the ultimate reality, is the highest form of enlightenment. In Buddhism, the goal is to reach nirvana, the state where the individual self dissolves into the universe, no longer separated by the illusion of ego. Even in Western thought, thinkers like Spinoza have proposed that God and nature are one and the same, that the universe is a unified whole, where every part reflects the divine. But what if, in a moment of cosmic singularity, we would experience this unity firsthand, not as an abstract concept, but as a tangible, overwhelming realization? A moment where the boundaries between us and the universe, between our thoughts and the cosmos, dissolve into a pure experience of interconnectedness. Could this be the universe's ultimate goal, an evolution of consciousness, where it recognizes itself in its entirety, not just as a collection of separate beings but as a single, unified mind? Some theories of the universe, particularly those involving black holes, suggest that at the center of every black hole is a singularity, a point where all known laws of physics break down, where space and time cease to have meaning. Could this point, this event horizon, represent not only the end of space-time as we know it, but also the beginning of something entirely new, a new form of consciousness that transcends the individual? If the universe is truly conscious of itself, then this moment of singularity could be the universe's way of reaching a new level of awareness, where everything merges into a state of perfect harmony. In this vision of the singularity, there is no longer a separation between the observer and the observed, between the self and the cosmos. There is only unity, the recognition that everything, every star, every thought, every life, has always been part of one vast, interconnected whole. Perhaps, in the end, this is the true purpose of existence: to reach that moment of unity, where the universe no longer looks out from within itself but experiences the wholeness of its own being. As we come to the end of our journey through the cosmos, through consciousness, and through the very fabric of existence itself, we are left with one profound, unanswerable question. If the universe is conscious, if everything is interconnected, if we are not just observers but participants in the unfolding of reality, then what happens when the universe fully realizes its own awareness? This question lingers in the air, a mystery that escapes our understanding, yet beckons us to look deeper. The ancient mystics, the philosophers, and the modern scientists all sought the answers to these questions, but none could fully grasp the vast implications of what it means for the universe to know itself. As we stand at the precipice of understanding, we are confronted with the possibility that the universe's consciousness may not be a destination, but an eternal journey, one that continues to unfold in ways we cannot predict. What happens when the universe reaches the pinnacle of self-awareness? Will it transcend its current form, evolving into something beyond our comprehension? Or will it continue its cycles, forever observing, forever learning, forever becoming more of what it already is? Perhaps the answer lies in the very nature of existence itself. If consciousness is the key to the universe, then the act of becoming aware may be an ongoing, infinite process, a never-ending journey of discovery. Could it be that the ultimate purpose of the universe is not to reach a final understanding, but to perpetuate the act of knowing itself in an endless cycle of self-reflection and self-awareness? The question of what happens when the universe realizes its own consciousness may never have a clear answer, for in the very nature of the universe's awareness, there is a paradox. The more it learns, the more there is to discover. Each step forward, each new realization, reveals more layers, more dimensions, more depths of understanding that cannot be fully known. In this sense, the journey itself becomes the answer. The universe's purpose, if there is one, may not be a fixed endpoint, but the act of continual becoming, an evolution that is never complete, always in flux, always seeking, always growing. But what does this mean for us, the beings who walk this earth, with our limited understanding, our fleeting lives? If the universe is conscious and aware, then perhaps our lives, our thoughts, our actions are not as insignificant as we once believed. Perhaps we are part of the unfolding journey of the cosmos itself, and in our small way, we contribute to its ever-expanding awareness. We are not isolated beings drifting aimlessly in the universe. We are integral to its process of self-awareness, playing a role in its story that we may never fully comprehend. In the end, the unanswered question remains: what happens when the universe knows itself completely? It is a question that may never have a definitive answer, but one that will continue to echo through the vast reaches of space, inviting us to reflect, to question, and to seek the deeper truths that lie just beyond our understanding. As we conclude this journey into the cosmos, we're left with more questions than answers. Is the universe truly conscious, observing itself through our eyes? We may never fully understand the extent of this mystery, but the search for answers is far from over. Continue to explore the unknown with us, subscribe, and let's venture deeper into the fabric of existence, where the universe and consciousness may be closer than we ever imagined.